be doing anything. Oh, thanks, Ann. Love you, girl. With all my own stuff, I wouldn't be. Bye there.
Hello, ladies. I should probably adjust my camera. Get my mouse out of the way. Hi, Melissa. Not sure I have met you before. Thanks for coming. Ami, it's good to see you. Holly, thank you for being here. We'll just wait a few minutes. I was surprised at a couple of the other streams. When I got there, they had already started and I missed the beginning. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes. Hi, Erin. Hi, Candy. Sherry. Hi, Lala. Hey, Lisa. Thanks for coming. Stewie's glad you're here too. Look at this awesome gift I got for Christmas. This is my bud Stewie and his friend Petey. Okay. And he doesn't do it unless I hold him upright, but he dances and it says, "Let it snow." Thank you, Holly, for my friend Stewie. So Stewie's here keeping me company and dancing. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Bonnie. Hello, Monkey. Well, a lot of new names for me. Hi, Erin. Did I say hi to Erin? Whispering Cauldron. Hello. Okay, I'm just going to watch my time. See, my time, I think I'm 5 minutes ahead. It's only 9. It's 9:30 for me. I'm on the East Coast. And so from Tennessee, great. I'm not sure I can, Jaquetta? Not sure how to pronounce your name. It's very pretty. It would be fun to write. Elaine, hi, Elaine. Anne, oh my gosh, Anne, you are a hoot. I just enjoy watching your streams so much. The pocket was terrific. Everybody did great today, right? Oh, I see Sharon. Okay, let me get started. My story is that when I was a Girl Scout, a cadet Girl Scout in a small troop, one of my leaders had a ceramic studio. And so my troop went to her ceramic studio to earn our badge. So that was my first exposure to ceramics. And then fast forward quite a few years, my children were small. They were about 3 and 4 years old. And my mom invited me out to a ladies' outing ceramic class on Friday nights. So I went, and thus my love for ceramic painting began. And in fact, it led my husband and I to buying a kiln. We bought our own molds, he poured the molds, we cleaned, we fired, and I had students. And so I haven't really done a lot of ceramics in the recent years, but I did put some videos up on my second YouTube channel, which is a whole nother story. Anyway, they're very popular. So tonight I'm going to dry brush. Now this is the piece. I don't have many of my pieces. I used to do craft shows and we did very well with that. But I don't really have much laying around the house anymore. So I did a video not too terribly long ago, this little snow lady. So I wanted to show you what I'm doing tonight. The technique is called dry brushing. Some of you may be familiar with that. And so this snow lady I dry brushed, and I don't really have any fun pieces. I have a little angel that I bought quite a while ago to do a video and really have not gotten around to it. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. So to dry brush, you could really base coat your piece any color that you want. A lot of times I paint them black. Now, when I would do Easter rabbits and chicks and those kinds of things, I might decide to do maybe a base coat of maybe a gray or a tan color. But when I did any other kind of pieces, I usually would just paint them black. And so a half hour might be a little tough to kind of get this finished. So what I did was I started doing some work on the back of her. So I did her wings, started her hair, And this is what I decided I wanted to do for her dress. And so I'm just going to walk you through. I'm using acrylic paints, just what we would use on any other acrylic project that we would have. Many years ago, I was trained and certified by Duncan Ceramics. And of course, I used Duncan paint at that time. And there was a company named Gare and Donna Ceramics. If any of you are familiar with Donna, that was Dona. And their line of brushes, which I still have some old Gare brushes. This is what is called a dry brush, at least years ago. And this was by the Gare company. Duncan had their own brand of brush and dry brush, but they're hard to come by now. I have not been able to find these easily. And so mine are really beat up. And I did find this little Princeton brush that's kind of, because you want them not real soft, but not real stiff either, because then it scratches the paint. So I have been using some softer bristle brushes, and you can get them to work, but there is certainly, as with anything, a learning curve. And a smoother surface is more difficult to do than a surface like her dress that is greatly detailed. Now, I'm not sure if you can really see a lot of the detail, but I'm going to start with her face. I did her hands so you could get an idea. And you start with your darkest color first. So tonight for her face, now I might not finish her whole face because I want to get to the dress. And I'll show you how I do that as well. So I'm just going to put out a little bit of paint. And you really need either a brown paper bag, or you can use paper toweling. Really, ideally, I would prefer a paper bag. I don't have too many of those laying around the house anymore. And sorry, guys, thank you for coming in, but I'm really not paying too much attention to chat, so I can go ahead and get this project started. So I'm starting out with a shading flesh, which is really kind of a dark flesh color, and that is by Americana. And then I'm going to go to probably a warm beige, and then a Santa flesh for her little face. And so I'm going to use a smaller brush just because it's easier to control. Now, if you get onto her hair or other parts and you've painted it black or gray, you can really paint over that and start, but it's really not that big of a deal. And so you start with a dry brush. This brush has not been in water. It's dry, and you load it with just a little bit of your paint, and you rub most of it off onto your paper towel or your paper bag. And if you were using, when I get to the hair, you'll see I would go across grain of the design or the impression part of the piece. Now her little face, like I said, is smooth. So I'm just going to pick a direction to go because there's no, really there's no detail on her face to catch the paint. And this is a lot like coloring with color pencils in that it's layers of color that you will let dry. Now, of course, it dries very quickly because it's an acrylic paint, and you're putting on just a very, very light stroke. And then I got a little heavy there on her cheek. And you don't really want to cover up all your base coat color because that's going to create the contrast. Now I'm going to probably go a little heavier than I would recommend, especially a beginner going, just for the taking into consideration the amount of time, because I want you to see how cute these really can be cute pieces, especially like if you do little chicks or ducks, little cats or dogs, because they have that fur, and you're able to just catch the top side of their fur, and then that dark base coat that you've put in really helps you with the contrast. Now I know she's looking a little orange. But if you are interested in this, you could check out or you could contact me and I can let you know the names of my other videos. I have done some snowmen and I did some pilgrims, little pilgrims. Oh, the pilgrims were so cute. Ceramics are really difficult to find a reasonably priced piece, I have found. Now, the closest place near me takes me a good 45 minutes to get there. Now, like I said, my husband and I, we would pour the greenware and clean it, and then my students would clean their pieces and fire. But where we live, there are these pop-up shops that have come up like in the malls where kids can go in and have birthday parties. And the pieces are really quite expensive. Now you can find them too. If you go to Michael's, I think they're ceramic or they might be a resin, but you know what? On a resin piece, the technique would really be the same. Jean Gibson. Oh, ladies, please say hi to Jean Gibson. This is my dear, dear friend who, my pinochle partner, who has moved out to Colorado, and she's figured out how to say hi on YouTube. That's great. Jean, so glad you got here. Great. So now I'm going to move to my warm beige, and I always put out too much paint. You really only need a little bit, especially if you're doing a small area. So I'm going to concentrate just on one side of her face, I think, so we can kind of get her going. Now, what I am doing different with her tonight is I've never really tried dry brushing a metallic type of paint. And I was thinking about that as I was preparing for tonight. I was thinking, why not? But I don't know. I just never have. So I don't know if you can see really that well what I'm doing. Now you can leave her looking a little spotty if that's the way you like her to look, or you can add as many layers as you want because her face is smooth and really even out her complexion. So it looks like she's wearing a really good foundation, if you get my meaning. So again, it's just on the smooth surface, it's kind of back and forth. And you really want your layers to dry in between, because if they don't, when you go to put your next light coat on, you're going to pull off the layer underneath. So you just kind of move around. Now I'm not going to worry about me having a little bit of oversplash on her hair because I'm going to come back in there with a different color. That's a little deeper. Now the idea with the dry brush also is that you use one brush really for a lot of different colors. You start with your darker color and then you go up to your lighter color. And when you switch colors on your brush, you just kind of work it out on your paper towel. Now I'm getting to the end here of my Santa flesh, so I'm just going to use a little bit of this out of the cap. Now this is my lightest flesh color, and I'm got the dirty brush, I'm adding it, and I'm just working that color out on my paper towel because I want to get that lighter color. And then I'm going to come back in here and just lighten her up a little bit. And then I'm just going to put on as many coats as I feel. And you'll be able to tell once your brush starts to run out of color when it's time to add more color. She's looking a bit ghostly. Let me see. I wish I could get a little bit. Now this brush is a little a little big to try to get into the corner of her eye. Let's see if I can get her little nose and get in there a little better. I might try a smaller brush. But you get the idea of what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to take a little bit of, I have some coral blush, so I'm going to put a little color on her cheek. So I'll just put out a little bit of that. Now I've already done her wings. I did those, a couple shades of like a buttercream and then a white, and I did put a little blue on them. So I'm just going to come in here in her cheek area, and I'm just going to rosy her up a little bit. And I like to do around the corner of her eye, around the corner of her eye. And then I'm going to use that a little heavier on her lips because I want a little bit more color. Now you can also paint these areas too. You don't have to dry brush everything. I painted her little instrument here and then put my brass goldish color and just painted that. I didn't dry brush that. I did dry brush a little highlight, and then I put a little bit of gold strokes to put a little design around her instrument. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my white and put a little eye in here for you, just so she doesn't look so ghoulish. And then I usually always put a little bit of color above the eye. I just got to find the right brush here. I tried to be prepared and get out all the different size brushes. Now this is a regular brush. I'm not dry brushing her eye, and I'm going to just paint in that little pupil area, that little eyeball area. Now while that's drying, I'm just going to take a little bit of an old-timey turquoise color and give her a little bit of color above her. Let me see. I'm trying to see where my timer is. Okay, so I have a little bit of time. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. So I'm just going to lightly put some little highlight eyeshadowy look on her little eye. And you don't have to go to all this detail, but I think they look great when you do. And let's see. Now I'm going to go to a blue. I should have uncapped all my colors here. So when I go to do her gown, I am going to start again, I think, with a, I think I used a bamboo. And then I'll use a bigger brush because it's a bigger area. Now, I haven't done these little tiny eyes in a while, guys, so hopefully I can't talk when I'm doing my little eyeballs. Oh, she looks better already. Now I'm going to let that dry a little bit. It's only going to take a minute. Now I'm going to use a bigger brush. I'm going to use this one, my old standby gear brush. It's not as flexible as it used to be. And like I said, now you're going to see a real big difference here in the technique. These are all this one, the label has come off, this bamboo. You're going to see a big difference. So I'm going to load my brush the same way that I did earlier. It's a dry brush. I'm just putting my paint on the tip, working most of it off. Now, since she has such a detailed dress, when I come across the top, it's just the same type of movement. But see how that color is just catching on the top of her gown. It's a little bit different there. And then when I get that to looking the way I want, I'll then move to my next color. But again, I'm just working that same type of stroke that I used on her face. Now, of course, I would probably go a little slower. And one trick that I've done over the years is I squeeze the brush kind of flat when I want to get like under her little chin. Now you could get a smaller brush, but you know, sometimes you don't feel like it. All right, so now I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to move to my buttermilk, which is just a few shades lighter than the bamboo, because I'm going to work my way up to the white. Now that certainly has dried because you're just giving it a very, very thin coat. When my kids were in grade school, I was heavy into the ceramics, and the one company, the Donna company, they had real cutesy little figures, and there was a little turkey, and I made all their teachers turkeys. It was just a little tiny, oh my gosh, it's such a cute little turkey. Well, the teachers, you know, were very appreciative. Fast forward, my daughter was, this is 7 or 8 years ago now, was teaching first grade in the school that she was in as a second grader, teaching with a gal who was a teacher while she was a student. And I had gone in to help her set up her classroom. And this woman came in, Colleen introduced me as her mom. And this lady said, "Oh my gosh, your son gave me that ceramic turkey for Thanksgiving." And she said, our holidays cannot start until I get that turkey out. So that was kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to let that alone for a little bit, and I'm going to take a little bit of my black and give this little sweetie pie a pupil. Now this is a regular paintbrush, and I'm not dry brushing this in. I'm just going to give her a little pupil. And that's really kind of a little blob of paint. Now I've got a liner brush here somewhere. I'm going to see, it's got a couple wild hairs. I'm going to see if I can get a nice thin line here to make her eye look a little better. It doesn't look too bad. It's got a little thick. Her eyelashes got a little thick. I'm a little nervous being watched. All right. So now what I did, because I showed you the back of her dress, what I did was I took, oh, I wanted to put some white on her dress. Let me put a little bit of white. Now I still have a little bit of white out here. I'm just going to put a little bit. And you really could just highlight this, but you know what, to tell you the truth, when I put the metallic on, I mostly want the white here on her cuff. You're not going to see a whole lot of that. And then usually I would use a little stylus to put a little highlight in her eye. Because if you're familiar with any of these ceramic pieces, if you're doing the little figures and stuff, a lot of them are just really, really tiny. Of course, they had some bigger stuff too that you could put in your bay window. Just going to give her a little highlight there. Oh, yeah, that's much better. They just look so ghoulish until you know. All right, so I'm using a combo. Like I said, I haven't done this before. Check my time. Okay, we're doing pretty good. A few more minutes. I'm using the ultrafine glitter paint by Deco Art called Glamour Dust. I'm going to use a little bit of this in combination with, you see, let me just put a little bit of that out because I really wanted her dress to kind of sparkle. This is also a Deco Art, and this is bronze. I used most of my metallic for, oh, I didn't do her hair, guys, for my jelly plating. So I'm going to use that same brush, and I'm just dipping a little bit in my bronze and a little bit in that glitter, and I'm just lightly coming over the top of her dress and catching those little leaves. Now you could really, do this in color. You could do that with a pink or a red, and you could come in with a smaller brush and do those leaves green. But this is just what I decided I wanted her dress to look like. All right. Now, because I put that sparkle on, I am going to start with a newer brush, and I'm going to take some of I pulled out some honey brown, and let's just do a little bit of her face. I mean, her, oh, I don't want that brush. A little bit of her hair around her face. And she's got, of course, the definition in her hair. So we're just going to come across that and just highlight and catch those top areas. You want to leave that dark underneath. Sorry for twirling. Hope you can see what I'm doing. Now this piece, if you clean your own greenware, you usually take your time and clean it a lot better than a piece that's, maybe a studio might do. And sometimes the molds get worn. There's not a whole lot of definition left, but you can see where they didn't put the definition back in the piece there where they cleaned her. But it's not too bad. Now I'm going to come in after this with a little bit of gold. Not a sparkly metallic gold, but a country gold. Sorry, my paintbrush keeps hitting my camera. So as I'm winding down here and coming to the end of my time, I too want to thank Meri. This is really fun to do this. And I'm so glad for those of you who could join us. My gold is very thick. I can't get it to squeeze out. Oh my goodness, this is practically a solid. This is how old my paints are. I don't throw much away. So you're just going to take that up to the next level of color. Create some highlights. She probably could use a little eyebrow too, now that I'm thinking about it. And then I'm going to go to a real bright yellow. And if you don't want it real super bright, you can mix it with a little bit of the color you used right before it. And you just mix it on your paper towel or bag. And then just give her some little highlights. And that's pretty much it. I have a question. No, there's no glaze involved with this technique. Glazing is for pieces that you want to maybe eat out of or be able to wash and put in the dishwasher. And glazing is done where you paint your color and your design on what they call the greenware. And then it gets fired. let me see if because there's 2 firings for glazing. This is bisque, so you clean your greenware, it gets fired, you paint with acrylic paint, and then she would get sprayed with an acrylic sealer, and then she's good to go. No glazing for this. Glazing is done like your teapots, your plates, coffee cups, mugs, those types of things. I was not a good glazer. There's definitely an art to that because you have to get it on evenly and you need nice thick coverage and you don't want it to run and drip, and glazing is tough. But this is just fired once, not fired twice. I hope that answered your question. I'm not quite sure what you mean by a top coat. It's just your basic white piece that's fired. Once the green, it's called greenware before it's fired. It's like your clay. You take that out of your mold, you scrape off and sand out your seams, and then you put it in your kiln, and then it gets fired. It comes out white, 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 and then you just paint it with your acrylic. Now, I put a base coat on this. I wouldn't call it a top coat, a base coat, because I did this particular technique with the black, which causes you to have the contrast. And then I put my acrylic on top. Now, you could just paint this. Some of you may have seen Barb Owen when she painted her Santa pieces. You can base coat all these sections different colors and do the piece that way. This particular technique is called dry brushing, where you put on your base coat, then you dry brush your highlights and your detail colors, and then you would spray her with an acrylic spray, and that seals it. All right, guys, you're headed off to Meri's. I forgot to say Letitia was not going to be able to be with us this evening, so Meri's stepping up to the plate. So we'll see on over at Meri's. Don't forget, catch the bus, take time to be creative, enjoy the journey, and I'll see you over at Meri's. Thanks for joining me. See you later. Hey, Jackie Donut. Hi. That's my sister. Thanks for popping in, sis. Oh, thanks, Peggy. I certainly enjoy what I do, that's for sure. Oh, you're welcome, Meri. Looking forward to your stream. Thank you, ladies. You're welcome, Erin. Thanks for stopping in. You're welcome, Melissa. Hey, Deborah Brown. Thank you. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, she's not too bad. Cute little Bubba. And Jean, if you're still here, join us over at Meri's. Oh, you're welcome, Suze. Thanks, Elaine. Just hang on for a minute. Thanks, Holly. With Sharon, I didn't even see Sharon. I was so busy and on overdrive. Thanks, Lala. Thanks, Riri. I'm glad you had fun. We'll see you over at Meri's. There's my Sharon. Thanks, Sharon. Meri is on next, Angie. The Meri Atelier. I don't know if anyone put in her link, but I know you know where she is. You can find her on YouTube, the Meri Atelier. All right, gals, I'm going to shut her down. See you over at Meri's.